Hello, my wonderful subscribers. Welcome to Cringy Bingy, episode number 2, where we take the cringiest stories of our viewers and we learn from them. Well, let's hear it for the boys this weekend. I have 2 very cringeworthy dating stories written to me by viewers who are both guys. So it'll be interesting to see what a cringe-worthy time looks like from the male perspective. Now remember, people write in these stories because they're hoping people will get some form of entertainment out of it, and also so that others can learn from mistakes that they've possibly made in their dating past to lead to these cringy scenarios. It's not really an advice show, but if you could leave a comment down below of where you think the relationship sort of started to go awry, so others can read it and learn from it also. My first email is from a guy I'm going to call Gary. Gary writes, "Dear Maria, let's call this story the Forrest Gump girlfriend horror story because of her name and behavior. I met Jenny when I was in college at the university's video game club. I had never dated anyone before." Well, now that's why we're about to start learning some lessons. "I never had a girlfriend in my teens because I was labeled undateable in high school because I was super nerdy. No woman would come after me wanting me, and it made me feel so lonely. I'm sorry. I did all the chasing of women myself and always failed miserably." Yeah. Ugh, high school can suck. "At the video game club, she was a newcomer. Everyone was having fun and socializing when she kept asking people if they were hungry. They turned her down, and she pointed me out and asked if I was hungry and asked me to go to dinner with her. I was hungry and I had some money. I was somewhat blindsided by this because no woman had ever asked me out for dinner. It weirded me out at first." That Tim Allen home improvement grunt noise went off in my head. That's one for the 90s. "I spontaneously agreed, and we went out and found a place to eat. It was a good date, but it ended up raining, so we drove back to my dorm where we talked and looked stuff up on the internet. That's fun. My date ended when my roommate came home in shock to find me with a woman in the room. It got weird, so she left." Understandable. "We continued to date for the next few months, having a good relationship until she became homeless. She got really needy because of the situation and ended up cheating on me with a guy for $600. The next day, she came to my dorm asking for money and food. I gave her the money and the food. She drove to Key West to meet her ex-fiancé and her 2 kids out of wedlock that she did not tell me about when we were dating. Turns out she lied to me about a lot of things after several dates. We played video games and went to ZombieCon conventions and did so many other things. I broke up with her after she lied to me several times. Good for you. The last thing I helped her with was to find an apartment and then fix the apartment room bedroom door. If the woman don't find you handsome, at least they can find you handy, as Red Green would always say." That's cute. "I should have known better, but it was my first relationship. I was not prepared for this kind of deceit and lying in a relationship. I was devastated for years." Yeah, I'm sure that could really mess a person up. "I was a doormat, and she stomped on me and manipulated me." You were just a kind person, and she targeted you. Don't beat yourself up so much. "Years later, she emailed me cryptic messages about wanting me back. I emailed her back asking if she was all right," which was very nice of you, by the way. You didn't have to do that. Probably shouldn't have. "She emailed me back with a picture of her. Turns out she was pregnant with a 3rd kid from a different man. Years later after that, I found her at the library on my 30th birthday. Happy birthday! She works at a Best Buy and is married to a preacher with their 4th kid. She also has a babysitter who is blind. How does that make sense?" It does not make sense, and I'm sorry you were so blind to her lies in the beginning. Sometimes when we don't have a lot of experience with relationships, we can't really see when we're being manipulated or a lot of the red flags, Or maybe sometimes people are just really good at lying. I'm glad that you separated yourself from her, and I'm sorry about the pain that you had to go through to do that. But like I said, don't beat yourself up, because honestly, sounds like you guys did a lot together, spent a lot of time together, and you were together for a while. Just because you find out someone's been lying to you doesn't mean you automatically stop caring about them. You're a human being. Doesn't sound like you're a sociopath at all. So you're going to care about somebody, and those are really tough feelings to go through, and it says a lot about your strength that even though you did care a lot about her, you realized she was a liar, the relationship couldn't go on, and you did cut ties. Thank you so much for your story, and I hope this can help other people realize that if they're in a bad relationship, they shouldn't stick around. Don't feel blue because you had the strength to walk away from a bad relationship. There you go. Show your self-love instead by painting your nails with OPI's Rich Girls Po Boys, inspired by OPI's New Orleans collection. Feel transported to the city of music and let this melodic cream color inspire you to write a love song of your very own. At only $11.49 on Amazon, this sophisticated polish will turn heads of lovers who only have eyes for you. All right, on to the next story. It's from a viewer and a subscriber. I will call him Warren. Warren writes, Dear Maria, I have a cringy dating story for you about one of my first times using the online dating app Bumble. For those of you who don't know, Bumble is a dating app where women make the first move. You guys can swipe on each other, and if it's a match, the app will let the woman know that there is a mutual interest, but she has to make the first gesture. She has to message first to get the ball rolling, and after that, you can chat freely. I met the girl I'll call Tessa on a dating app, and after some back and forth chatting, we decided to meet. I asked her where she'd like to go for dinner, and I was a little taken aback when she invited herself over to my house to cook for me. I agreed to meet up. However, the day before we were supposed to meet, she called me and said she had to cancel because she had no babysitter. She did not reschedule the date during that text exchange. I was a little disappointed, but prepared to give her a couple of more chances before I dismissed her as leading me on and moved on. Crap happens, but one more chance, and she has to message you, initiate the date, and try to reschedule with you. Stuff does happen, but no, a couple of more chances. One more, and she has to do the heavy lifting. When I went back on the app, I noticed she did delete her dating profile. Well, maybe she got back together with an ex. She claimed she was going to call me the next day to set up another date. However, I didn't hear from her all day until midnight. She tried calling me twice. I set the do not disturb twice, but when she texted me, I ended up calling her back. She sounded drunk on the call, and apparently she'd been wandering around her neighborhood in the middle of the night, saw a bear, and wanted to talk to me about it. Warren, welcome to the world of online dating. Congratulations, you're in. We set another date for that Friday for her to come over and cook for me, and I said I would make the dessert. The night before, I texted her to make sure we were still on, and I sent her a photo of the cream caramels I had made for us. Sounds like you put a lot of energy into that. I got no response. That is never a good sign. The next morning, on the day of our date, I texted her, okay, so you texted her the night before the date, and you got no response, so basically now you're double texting her. I will just say I've had other people write into me before about getting stood up when they meet somebody online, and like 100 times out of 100, whenever someone texts the person the night before and that person does not respond back, they never show up for the date. Okay, so the next morning on the day of our date, I texted her again around 10 a.m. to ask her if she needed me to pick up anything from the store. This time, she did text me back. She acknowledged the photo I sent of the cream caramels and said she would call me around 2. 2 p.m. came and went with no phone call. I called her at 5 just to see what's up and got no response. She finally texted me at 7 p.m., the time we were supposed to meet, and said she had been using alcohol to cope with a divorce that wasn't final yet. Classy. The night before, when she didn't text me back, it was because she had hit rock bottom and had to go to emergency therapy for alcoholism. We have not spoken since. Good. I'm very glad that you guys have not spoken, because honestly, sometimes what people will do in this scenario is they've already gotten invested with this person. You've talked to her. You've already cooked for her. There's your first major red flag. A woman who just sight unseen she's okay with coming to your home, a man that she's never met before. And I kind of feel like if she was a little mentally healthier, it says to me that she doesn't have a lot of boundaries. And I just don't think that healthier women would be okay with that. They want to meet a strange man at a wine bar or a coffee bar. And you said you were taken aback by it, so I'm sure you realize that too. But yeah, good for you for just stopping the communication, because I was going to say that sometimes in these situations, because you have already invested some of your time and energy, they use it as an excuse to, oh, well, I can help this girl, I can fix this girl, and just let her string them along for another 6 months or a year until they hit rock bottom again, or just end up leaving for an ex or someone else. The whole thing is a disaster. So I applaud you for your separation from this nonsense. Well, there you have it. Men and women both have struggles in the dating realm. And if you have a dating struggle you'd like me to answer a question about, or you have a super cringy story you would like me to read so our viewers can learn from it, please email me at welcometotheotherhalf@gmail.com. Oh, and I do have a Facebook group now. It's a public group also called Welcome to the Other Half. Please join if you have issues with relationships and dating, or you would like some self-improvement motivation. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being brave enough to share your stories, and thank you for indulging me in my cringy bingies.